You gotta, first of all, excuse me, I want to, it was a joy coaching that kid. It really was. We basically came in, I think he got here, my fifth game here. And just the impact that he made on our team and our locker room, obviously not only with his play but with his leadership and just an unbelievable football guy, a guy that loved ball, guy that was always talking ball, always working on ball. He was phenomenal for the young players. So I want to thank him for everything that he did, and we will truly miss him. But it's the nature of the business, unfortunately, in a situation for us. But what a great opportunity for the Valentines of the world, the Ballantines of the world. They're going to get an opportunity, and hopefully they'll take advantage of it.
Carrington's played a bunch for you. He's also probably been benched once. What do you need to see for him to get out there and kind of get back to that preseason form?
Yeah, I don't know if he wasn't benched. He got a bicep injury in the Detroit game. I think there was. I love the way the kids competed. I really do. He gave up a couple one-handed catches. One to Olave in the New Orleans game. The catch that Sutton made in the Denver game was a great throw and catch. But with young players, especially when they do give up a play, no matter what the circumstance is, I always look at those guys, especially early on when they're young and green, and see how they'll respond. See how they'll react. And he's come back and worked and showed up, and I expect him to just go out and compete his butt off.
Joe, what did you see from TJ on Sunday, and how big can a performance like that be for a young guy that's in his first year as a starter now full time, and
Yeah.
kind of what he's done up front?
Yeah, you remember kind of the middle to last half of the season last year. TJ put together 2 or 3 really good games. Ironically, Minnesota last year at the end of the year played really good against the Dolphins last year at the end of the year. So, and that's just something I talk to you guys all the time about. Young players, and whether it's a rookie going into a second year, you want to see that improvement. With TJ, it's a third year guy making improvements from his second year. So. He's getting opportunities to play more and more, and he's taking advantage of it. But it's great. It's obviously great to see, not only for him but for us.
From your perspective, how much of a surprise did the Rasul trade strike you, and were you in the process of what was happening, or what was your perspective of that?
No, I think the way the way it's struck. Tuesday's a big game plan day for us. So, the trade deadline always falls in on a Tuesday, which is a player's day off, and so honestly, it was. I've never been involved. I've been in 22 years I've been involved in trades, both where we've received players but also lost players, and yeah, of course it's always it's like, oh really, wow. But in the same breath, it's part of this business. It's you understand that, and you kind of brace yourself for that. But yeah, it was shocking in the moment.
Does it affect how you can, what side you play? Is Valentine, if you start him, more ready to play one side than the other?
Yeah, you get into all those things, especially with the corner position. I don't want to use the word limit, but sometimes it definitely affects from a game plan standpoint as far as how you travel guys or where you deploy them, whether it's right or left, field or boundary, all things like that. So of course, that absolutely factors in.
What do you know of Burt Rippon?
Not a lot, just, thankfully, we did get a little bit of film on him when, at least current film, when he had to go in and play, I think he played whatever it was, the last, quarter and a half of the Dallas game. So, but, he's a 4-year guy, he's been in the league, he's been around, so, I think in situations like this, we're taking the approach that number 9's going to play. And if he doesn't and we get number 11, I truly think, I don't think they're going to change what they do all of a sudden. They're not all of a sudden going to put a Ripien offense in. They're going to run their offense. So we're taking the mindset that Matthew's going to play, and if all of a sudden he's inactive and doesn't, we've prepared that he is, and no matter who plays quarterback, they're going to run their offense.
Is system knowledge or understanding of being around Sean too much made of that? And when you put together a plan against?
No, I mean, that's a good question, because I know that's always brought up and talked about, but you watch everybody watches the same film, but I was with Sean for we were together 6 years, 2 in Washington and then 4 in LA, but there's that tree, if you will, whether it's Sean or Kyle or Matt here or Kevin in Minnesota, they all run variances of the same offense. So, but yeah, there's little subtle things, especially, if you hear things, verbiage wise from the quarterback, things that, just being around a guy for 6 years, the subtle nuances that you pick up on, but I don't think that's talked about a lot, and I think sometimes it's blown out of proportion, but I think that's real when you're going against a person that you know and know well.
They've got the element of surprise this week, right? Because there's some legitimate wonderment on who's going to play quarterback for them.
Yeah.
How much does your knowledge of Sean and how he handles these situations help you better predict what they might do in this situation?
Well, I think you just gotta, you watch tape, you watch the film. That's where your predictions and your game plans and your feel comes from, and they do the same thing. They watch what we do. So I just know Sean's an unbelievable football coach. He's an unbelievable play caller, and he's going to do what he does no matter who's receiving the ball from center at quarterback.
So what's the issue on the crossing route where KJ Osborne got open and Rasul was following him and then pulled off?
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's the same one as in week 1 when Jair did the same thing. He pulled off and Rasul kept following him, and that left Justin Jefferson. What, is there a miscommunication there, or?
No, it's in the simplest form. There's a subtle difference between a crossing route and an over route, and those are, in a full speed situation that NFL football games are. You have to make a split-second decision, and you have to be right. And the way you define those things are very subtle, but they're defined. But in Rasul's case right there, he thought and assumed one thing, and it was another. And you're talking about, a yard or two difference in how you play a specific route. It was an over route. He thought it was a crossing route, and it was one of those things.
Is there like a communication thing they can do, or it's just he's got to read it?
Well, I mean, it depends on what technique he's playing and what coverage he's playing, but in that specific play, it's not anything that's communicated. It's just the way he feels it and the way he sees it, and he unfortunately saw it one way, and it was not.
That was a third down play?
Huge third down play,
Right, so
yeah.
you guys have played really good third down all year, and then
Yeah.
against Sunday, kind of went the
It was,
crap line.
it was really, from a percentage standpoint, it was the worst of the year. We gave that one, it was what it was. But the three that were probably the most disappointing were, you know, we had a penalty on one that we were off the field that kept the drive alive. And then we had two really poor missed tackles. You know, the thought process on third down, if they throw the ball in front of us, that's a good thing. We can drive up, we can have leverage, we can make tackles. But the 3 third downs that we lost from 2 missed tackles and then a penalty, you know, anytime that you give an offense like that or a quarterback like Kirk Cousins, you know, continued life in a drive, you know, you got to take advantage of the opportunities when you get a chance to get off the grass. And whether it's making good sure tackles or not having foolish penalties, those are brutal.
Was the one to Hawkinson in the bunch formation similar to what Sutton did on the touchdown?
It was the same. It was the exact same play. They just and that's what it's a copycat league. Now, what offenses do is that they're not going to give you the exact same picture. They're gonna dress it up different ways, and that's what they did. But it was the exact same play.
I bringing that guy in motion to the inside.
Yeah, we call it a cluster when 3 people are in proximity of each other, and they shifted out of it and then snapped the ball. But at the end of the day, when the ball was snapped, it was the same concept.
Can those guys do something to zone it off, or?
They tried. I mean, if you go back and actually look at it, Jonathan Owens is calling out the play, and he got picked. He got knocked down on the ground. But it was. I mean, it's a fine line between number one, knowing that it's coming, which we did, but then you got to defend it. And but to answer, it was the exact same play.
2 more.
Joe, just with the run, getting back to that for a second, what worked well against Minnesota, and what do you think you have there to build upon now, you know, as you guys kind of go into LA and
Yeah.
what comes next?
You know, and that's the thing that I do think Minnesota had improved this year running the football. That had been something that they had struggled with, and I thought it was something that was an area of emphasis for us preparing, because I think they've run the ball better. And they tried to run the ball. I mean, they ran the ball 31 times, and thought the guys did a great job of defending the run and being physical and really, you know, doing a great job with it. So, and that's we talk about all the week. You know, situational football, third down, red zones, and stopping the run. Those are massive emphases for us every single week. So. That was a great positive, us playing the run last week, no doubt.
Did Campbell get through okay, and do you expect him to be more like himself? I mean, it's been a while since he played.
Yeah, it was just, I've told you guys before, not only what he brings to us just from a play standpoint, but from just a leadership and just a voice for us. It was, you know, and you never know how a guy, when he's missed, you know, what's Dre missed, 3 or 4 weeks, how he's going to come back right out of the blocks. And yeah, it was number one. It was great to have him out there, and he played pretty damn well for us. So it's always good to have 59 out there.
Hey, Joe, real quick, what do you see from Puka Nacua, and how impressive has he
Yeah.
been?
Well,
Especially knowing, you know, on a team that you coach, that there are growing pains for young receivers.
sure. You know, I've always, if there is, if I can tip my cap to a player, I'm always going to do it. And Cooper Kupp is as good a player, good a guy, good a human being as I've ever been around. And you know, I think when the Rams started out the year, you know, Cooper wasn't available, and this kid's kind of come out from nowhere. So, I mean, and they really, I mean, he made plays for that offense the first 3 or 4 weeks with Cooper not being available. So, but he's kind of I didn't know anything about the kid until, you know, probably 3 or 4 weeks ago when he started coming onto the scene, and just watching him, watching his explosive plays, watching his targets, even before this week preparing for him. He's very Cooper Kupp-ish. Just the way, you know, for a young guy, he's a very polished receiver, very detailed, kind of lulls you to sleep almost. and they've really done a nice job. You know, everyone kind of thought, okay, this guy's just a place setting until Cooper comes back. And then since Cooper's come back the last couple weeks, they've really been able to incorporate and use both of them. So, but he's as close to a Cooper Cup clone as I've seen, and that's saying a lot, because I think Cooper he's as good as they come.